If you've ever, closed your eyes and just dreamed of that perfect tropical paradise, the pure white sand, that crystal clear turquoise water, chances are the place you're picturing looks a lot like the Philippines.
Oh, for sure. It's a global superstar for stunning islands and beaches.
But it's more than just a great location spot. That whole allure is absolutely vital. It drives a massive, massive chunk of the national economy.
And that economic success creates this immediate high-stakes conflict.
Right.
When a destination gets too popular, when that growth is unmanaged and, way too rapid, it starts to actively destroy the very things that attracted visitors in the first place.
You end up with a real balancing act.
Exactly. It's economic prosperity today versus environmental survival tomorrow.
And that's exactly why we're here today. Our mission is to take a deep dive into what is, I think, arguably the most famous and most dramatic case study of this conflict. The small island of Boracay.
Yeah, it's a big one.
We're going to explore how one of the world's biggest tourist hotspots really hit an environmental tipping point and then executed this radical, globally recognized intervention.
And what that tells us about the true cost of enjoyment versus preservation.
So to get there, we have to understand just how bad things got. Boracay was, for decades, like the standard for tropical beauty.
It really was. But as its popularity just exploded, maybe in the 2000s, the development became completely uncontrolled. Businesses just popped up everywhere.
Right on the beach, a lot of
on the beach. And the island's infrastructure, it couldn't handle the volume.
And we should be clear, we're not talking about a little bit of litter here and there. This was a catastrophic failure of basic planning, right?
Oh, it was. When we talk about unsustainable growth here, the results were, they were severe overcrowding and just critical waste management issues.
It became the poster child for overtourism.
It did. You had establishments that were just dumping sewage directly into the sea, sometimes through, these makeshift pipes, all because the island lacked a centralized wastewater treatment facility.
And that detail, that's the thing that really made the crisis undeniable on a global scale. I remember the country's own president called the island a cesspool.
Publicly, yeah.
That's not just criticism. That's a huge political warning sign that they had reached a breaking point.
And that's when the political will finally materialized. By 2018, the situation was so dire that the Philippine government did something absolutely radical.
Shutdown.
The shutdown. They ordered a complete temporary closure of the entire island to tourism. No flights, no boats, no visitors for 6 months.
Just halting an economy like that, even a local one, for half a year. That is an enormous move. Was that decision purely environmental, or was there maybe an element of managing their international reputation?
I think it was driven by the environment, but you're right. The collapse was hitting their reputation globally.
So that created the political pressure.
For sure. The government wasn't just reacting to, things looking bad. They were facing measurable critical damage. The lack of proper sewage processing had caused widespread water contamination.
And that, in turn, was killing the coral.
Exactly, which is vital for the whole marine ecosystem. And just the sheer volume of people had also caused extensive physical damage to the beaches themselves.
So that decision, to just suspend all economic activity, it became this major, globally watched experiment in sustainability. The whole world was watching. But I have to ask, how did the government justify that? The massive economic hardship for thousands of residents and business owners who relied on that income.
That was the political tightrope they had to walk. They essentially argued that the short-term economic pain was necessary to ensure the long-term survival of the island.
The logic being, if Boracay dies, the economy dies forever.
Right. If it recovers, the economy could be reborn, but sustainably. And the shutdown wasn't just about sending people home. It was a period of intense, compulsory rehabilitation. They were focused on core structural change.
Okay, so what did that rehabilitation actually look like on the ground? It had to be more than just like a big cleanup day.
Oh, far more. They tackled infrastructure and regulation at the same time. First, the sewage issue. They mandated the construction of centralized wastewater treatment facilities.
So a proper system.
A proper system. And they forced all hotels, all establishments to connect to it. No more illegal dumping. That was a non-negotiable compliance step.
That takes care of the water quality.
Yeah.
What about the physical overcrowding, the strain on the shoreline itself?
That needed specific rules. They brought in a crucial 12-meter beachfront easement rule.
Meaning
Meaning no structures, no hotels, no restaurants, no vendors could operate within 12 meters of the high tide line.
Ah, so it lets the beach breathe.
It lets the natural coastal ecosystem breathe and recover from erosion. And they went further. They demolished any illegally built structures that violated that rule. They were sending a signal of zero tolerance.
And the change that probably most directly impacts you, the traveler, the capacity limits, I'm guessing.
Yes, that was probably the single most important structural change for the future. They realized unrestricted access just wasn't viable.
It's what got them into trouble in the first place.
Exactly. So Boracay now operates with a hard limit on the total number of visitors allowed on the island at any one time.
And that's strictly enforced.
Strictly enforced. It's calculated based on the capacity of the new infrastructure and the carrying capacity of the ecosystem itself. You have to register, you get a pass, it's a whole system.
So after 6 months of this intense work and these huge structural changes, Boracay reopened. The big question is, did the drastic action actually work?
Measurably, yes. The turnaround was significant. The most immediate indicators were cleaner waters.
So the sewage problem was handled.
Largely under control, yes. More subtly, the coral started showing signs of becoming healthier and marine biodiversity started returning. The whole island now operates under, demonstrably improved regulations and much stricter enforcement.
You can see the difference then.
Oh, you can immediately notice the difference in how the beach area is managed. It's just less cluttered, it's cleaner.
And this shift is really the heart of the story, isn't it? Sustainability went from being this temporary emergency fix to a foundational long-term policy.
Yeah.
They fundamentally changed the operating system.
They did. They embedded preservation into the economic model permanently.
And if we zoom out a bit, Boracay's experience offers these vital lessons for the whole world.
It's the clearest possible example that without regulatory teeth, without a government willing to endure short-term pain, that kind of popular, uncontrolled growth is catastrophic.
Yeah, the economic benefits are worthless if you destroy the main attraction.
Exactly.
And for you, the traveler, this case study really dictates how you can approach any destination, not just the Philippines. Boracay proved that our collective actions and following the rules have a huge impact.
Absolutely. The lessons here translate directly into actionable steps for any conscious tourist visiting any pressured environment.
So what are they?
First, you have to respect local guidelines and regulations, even if they seem inconvenient. Things like capacity limits, they exist for a reason. They're the result of hard-learned lessons.
Okay, that makes sense. What's number 2?
Second, actively try to avoid known overcrowded areas, or maybe travel during off-peak times. If you really want to visit a hotspot like Boracay, your behavior should support the management efforts. You become part of the solution.
By spreading out the pressure.
Exactly. You diversify where you spend your time and your money.
And third.
And finally, when you're choosing where to stay or what to do, try to find and support genuinely eco-friendly businesses. The Boracay intervention forced compliance, but the businesses that went above and beyond...
The ones that really bought in.
Right. The ones prioritizing responsible waste disposal, energy efficiency, hiring local staff supporting them, proves that a sustainable approach is also economically viable.
So Boracay's whole trajectory is this powerful narrative. It went from being an international symbol of environmental collapse.
Total collapse.
It's driven by its own popularity, to a managed recovering destination through truly decisive government action on structural reform. It's a crucial roadmap, really.
It is. It shows that preservation isn't restrictive. It's the only way to ensure the resource actually lasts.
So as we wrap up, what's the final thought here?
Well, what's so fascinating is the sheer scale of the turnaround. The Boracay incident proved that significant, measurable environmental recovery is possible when you temporarily suspend economic activity and put in massive, non-negotiable regulations.
The hard stuff.
The really hard stuff. Centralizing wastewater treatment, enforcing capacity limits. And this raises a really important question for everyone to consider. Boracay's success depended on total economic sacrifice and mandatory reforms. So, is long-term sustainability in these high-demand places viable without such drastic, painful government intervention?
Or can we get there voluntarily?
Right. Can voluntary action by the tourism industry and by us as individual tourists, can that genuinely achieve the preservation goals before we hit the point of total collapse? That's the balance that every traveler and every tourism-dependent nation really needs to figure out.